Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today we're going to be trying to fix up an Apple MacBook Pro. So hopefully this should be fun. Bought it 40 off eBay. Apparently it's got motherboard damage. It came with the laptop, the box, screwdriver set because they said it was no good to them anymore, and also the hard drive, which is in a separate caddy. So I'm not sure now whether it will still have the information of the Apple laptop on there or whether it's being used for other purposes. Had to buy the little charger separately. Everything with Apple seems so expensive. Even that refurbished cost £35. I'm just going to flash up on screen what I paid for the laptop and also the description. So if you haven't seen my videos before, this is a trying to fix video. It's not going to be a professional attempt. It's going to be more like if it's broken at home and you're trying to fix it yourself. I've never opened up one of these before and I've never owned one before. So I'm hoping I'll be able to fix it, but I really don't know that until I get in there and have a good look. But I'll tell you what, I will give it a very, very, very good shot. I've done the basic things like plugging in the charger, holding down the power button for a minute, etc. And that sort of stuff's not working. But good news is that when I was charging it up, it does appear to now to be keeping some kind of charge. You can see two little lights there. Now I think this laptop is from 2012. It's said in the description that the bottom has been replaced by Apple, and you can still see we have these little new things over the rubber feet. So I mean, it is overall in very, very, very nice condition. So it would be good if we can get it working. It's amazing that something from 2012 still fetches money nowadays, but I suppose it's a testament of a product that hopefully will still work, especially if you were to put like an SSD in there and maybe upgrade the RAM if that's possible on here. Not too sure. So let's see if it can be fixed. So you can see we have a little light here, so it's definitely charging, and if I press this button you can see it's going up here, and when we take it out it's keeping on to some of the charge. So that all looks good. So we've got a load of screws to undo here, and they're all crosshead screws. So let's undo them. And this video today is sponsored by, only joking, the MyMateVince Massive. And this month that consists of Operational 117, KitDigital.com, Kip Hakes, Max Rokotansky, Having Fun Repairs, Ellensburg Amplifier Repair and Service, Will Michaelis, Stephen Kilgore, Chris Seal, the MyMateVince Fan Club, Dorian from Hoover Lux Restorations, Dr. Restoration, Mr. Directory, and MediaSteamer.com. So massive thanks to all of them and everybody else that supports the channel. Okay, well I can smell smoke. Well, it all looks a bit dusty, but okay. I think there's nothing jumping out at me that looks awful. So I think the first thing to do is let's disconnect the battery and then see if it turns on just with the power. Feels very warm. I wonder, is it on? Do you know what? It's probably on right now, but nothing's showing. Let's press this and see if it will go off. Well, I didn't hear any popping sound or anything. Mind you, it's going to be off now when I unplug the battery, isn't it? Right, okay, so that's the battery disconnected. Let's see now if it will turn on. Okay, so it doesn't go to amber because obviously it's not charging. So that side of it must be working okay. Right, so there's no fan spin. Okay, so I don't think it's going to be anything like that. I'll tell you what, let's pop the RAM out. Oh, that's nice. Look, it's kind of like a double decker. And this is 2 GB of DDR3, PC3. Okay, so that's the RAM out and the battery out. Let's see now if it's going to turn on. No. So I think what I'm going to do next of all, I think I'm going to unplug everything just in case, for example, the screen ribbon cable's put in a fault on it or one of the other connections. So let's undo everything on this board. I'm going to get some tweezers. If we plug this in, obviously nothing's going to come on the screen, but we should still see the fan spin, shouldn't we? So plug that back in again. No, it's still got no signs of life whatsoever. There's definitely heat. I can feel heat all around here though. Right, let's actually undo the board, get the board out completely. Quite dusty under the battery. Oh, look at that. Nicely dusty. Now, this still doesn't want to come out. Oh, here we go. Right, okay, there's a cable going up here somewhere. Whoa, there's some serious dust under here. Oh my, my. Whoa, look at that. Whoa, what a mess. Right, what do I do? Hold on, this isn't very easy. There we go. Are we free? No, we're not free. Yes, we are. We're free. Excellent. Well, that gives me a good opportunity to clean all this out if we can get it working. I can't believe the dust on that there. Looking at the other side, it looks so good. And look at that. It looks yellow up here. Yep, we've got a burnt component here. Let's zoom in on that. Look at that. Uh-oh. Well, that looks that one's completely gone. Maybe some kind of four pins, maybe some sort of MOSFET. Slightly worried about all this up here as well. Do you know what I think we need to do? Look at the state of this. Look at... Uh-oh. Ah. Has this had water damage? That's green there, isn't it? I think underneath the mess of dust, I think we might find a bit of damage. Yeah, that doesn't look good, does it? Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this outside with a toothbrush, and I'm just going to get rid of all this dust. And then let's have a look at it. Maybe we can clean it with IPA and see what's happening around this area here, and also down here as well. Let me give it a clean. So looking at this here, I'm wondering if it has had a bit of water damage, because here there seems to be it's kind of gone chalky here, and also here as well. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if a little bit of liquid has got in here. So as you can see, that's a lot better now than it was before. Clean up the water damaged bit and also the burnt chip with IPA, isopropyl alcohol, and let's see what it looks like after that. I can even see on the Ethernet port there's a tiny bit of green. I concentrated on the water damage area here and also the burnt chip, but while I was here I gave everything a quick going over just because it was so dusty. So I'm just going to let that dry now, and then we can zoom in and have a close look at these areas. What I'm worried about is this chip looks very burnt. It's not just like a little blown hole, it's very burnt. So has it gone through into the layers of the board? A board like this, I'm assuming, is going to be a multi-layer board. So it's not just going to be top and bottom, it's going to have numerous layers in the middle that are running tracks to other parts, other components. So if, for example, it's got charred on the top of the board, it could have gone into the layers of the board, and it might not be repairable. It might not look bad, but underneath that, if it's burnt it right into the board, then it could be game over for this, unfortunately, because I'm not going to be able to repair any traces in the middle layers off the board. First of all, I want to inspect up here by the crystal, this area here. So let's spin it around and zoom right in. Now, there was evidence of water damage along both sides, but very, very minor. Some of the capacitors just looked a tiny bit dull. There was a few bits of green on some of the test points, but really, I don't think anything too major that would cause any problems. So I'm just fast forwarding through this whole bit here until we get onto the removal of the burnt chip. And that's where the fun begins. Let's have a look at this burnt chip now. So I'm flipping the board over and we're going up to here. So now let's see what sort of damage it's done. Yeah, it's definitely all charred there. I think we need to get some hot air, take this off. Look at that, it's just crumbling apart. I think we need to take this off and we see what we're left with underneath. So I'm going to use some flux. Now, when components are burnt like this, they can weld themselves to the board a little bit, so this might be harder to remove than normal. I'm going to put my temperature to 480 degrees Celsius and my airflow is 5 out of 8. Now I'm going to angle the heat away from, you see this plastic here, but apart from that I should be okay. And I'm looking around, apart from that little resistor there, there's not many components that I can send flying. Well, the board must be quite good at getting the heat away because it's showing no sign of moving yet, but even this component next to it's not melting. I'm going to put my airflow up to 6 out of 8. Here we go. Come on. Oh no, it's lifting the board up here. Right, all I can smell is burning now, that's not coming up. Let's put some more flux around here. This is the problem with burnt components, you see. The board's going to be welded to that. So I presume that's the massive ground pad underneath it, is it? Let's lift it up. Come on, come up. Way! Whoa! See that cap explode? Right, well that's what it smells. Right, yeah, this is the problem. You see, it's all stuck to the board. But those four look okay. Maybe it's just a ground. I wonder what's happening down here. I wonder what that is part of. Maybe that's the gate here, and then we've got the source and the drain. So maybe this is maybe this here is all ground, which would be good. So they're the 4 pads here. So I'm actually the 4 pins. So they look okay on the board. I haven't got a clue what's happening down here. Maybe I should just, with pliers, just start crushing this chip. And then maybe I'll be able to get a soldering iron at the end to put the trace, to put the pad back. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start cutting it down. There we go. Now, is that the component still on here? Or is that the pad? I'd say that's still the component, isn't it? Yeah, because it's lifted up here. Come on. I wonder if I was to get some low melt solder and put it in here, would that be enough to peel it off? Let's give this a bit of a clean. So I've got some Chip Quick here. So I'm going to put some of that on, but I'm not sure whether that's going to make any difference. But now I've had a close look through the eye loop, and I can actually see that this pad here looks like it's going over in this direction up here. And this pad here looks like it's going down, I think, to the capacitor there. So I'm just going to get my multimeter, set it to continuity, and just verify that. So it definitely, I mean, it could be a lot worse because these three pins are definitely together. So I think these four are possibly together. The middle ones might be some sort of ground. Oh, well, no, maybe not a ground, but just, well, actually, maybe the middle one's connected to here, I wonder. Let's have a look. So that's definitely connected to there, but not there, and not them. Now I wonder, is this connected to here? No, it's not. No. Okay, so that's not broken from there. This is going to here. So this middle one must be a pin. I thought maybe originally it was a ground, but it's not. Oh yes, it is. Sorry, it is. Hold on, confused. Why would... 1 second now. 1 second. Grounds? Grounds? Grounds, not grounds. Is that normal to have a coil coming through as a on the ground? Okay, well, I'm not sure. But anyway, it does look like that is connected to here anyway, going up to here. So let's flood this area with low melt solder, see what happens. So I used a nice dollop of low melt solder and it made no difference whatsoever. The only way that these metals came apart was by physically forcing them apart with the soldering iron. So realistically, adding all this hot air didn't actually do anything apart from blow the capacitor next to it and risk damage to the other components on the board. I think in hindsight, next time I come across a burnt component, I'm just going to use pliers to break up that component to get it down to the lower layers, and then by using hot air, hopefully then it will remove the bits that are soldered, and the bits that are not soldered will still need to be forced apart anyway. Obviously, if you guys know a way to remove burnt components, then please pop it down in the comments below. In my opinion, heat in this instance is not going to do anything. So yeah, I have now removed the leftover bits of this burnt chip, and we have two traces, one quite badly damaged, but one we've got half the trace, so I think we will be able to make good on this. Okay, so obviously it didn't come off smoothly, but it could have been a lot worse. I know most people are thinking, no, it couldn't. But if you have a look, we still have this pad here. So these four look intact. So what we could do is, if I can get a chip on here, hopefully that will make contact with the middle bit, or I could possibly extend this out a bit. These four should make contact. That should make contact. And then when it comes to these three bits here, I can actually just run a wire from here, you know, just from here. Or it doesn't matter, because they're going to be in contact with each other. So as long as one of them make the contact, then all three are going to be in contact anyway, just like up here, I think. But what we need to worry about now is underneath here and see how bad the damage is. So let's lift this away. It would have been a lot worse if this one broke. The very fact that I've got a bit here, it means it's going to hit the metal bit on the underneath of the chip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the tweezers now, and I'm going to scrape away here, because we have to get rid of that burning. So this bit here is clean. Can you see the light brown? I think that's fine. It's this bit here which is not good. There you go, look at that, all that stuff there. See, look, I think we have a problem. That's another layer off the board, isn't it? There. That's copper, isn't it? So this bit looks okay, but here, that's gone through. I've scraped through to the next layer now. But you see, the carbon was probably going to be making it conduct anyway. Well, possibly. So after a little bit more scraping and a little bit more cleaning, we're left with a nice little hole in the board where we can see the copper layer underneath. So obviously we need to seal this. So I'm going to use some solder mask, and then I'm going to fill up, it's like a little pond, I'm going to fill it up with solder mask. So that will hopefully seal the layer below, and then it won't conduct with the layer above. And then I'm going to put some UV light on it and let that go hard. So that's what you're seeing now in this fast forwarded bit of the video. And then the next bit you see is the bit where I'm going to start remaking the track which is missing with a bit of copper slug tape. So it's been about 20 minutes or so now, so let's have a look at this. Yeah, that's gone nice and hard. So now let's try and put this back over. There we go. So I think originally this probably came all the way over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a very small bit of copper slug tape, and I'm going to put it on there. And in fact I'll probably put it underneath, and then you see when we go to solder it, the solder will all go across the tape anyway. That's what I'm going to do, put tape on that now. So here we have it. I've just taken a tiny bit off here. You can see what it looks like. It's very cheap, this stuff, but sometimes it does come in handy for certain jobs. So I'm just going to trim a little bit off here. And this stuff's sticky on one side. Okay, so that's on there. So now I'm going to put my soldering iron on again, and I'm just going to tin up across here, and hopefully this will stick this down to here. And then I'm going to put a bit of solder here, here, and these four as well. Right, with the flux, that's just lifted straight off now. Okay, so there we have it. So we've got nice big fluffy pillars of solder here. So I'm hoping that when I put the chip on and push it down, I'm hoping it will go onto all of them. So what I have to do now is I have to work out what chip goes here. So I'm going to have a look online, see if there's any kind of board view or schematics or anything. What I probably have to end up doing is I intend to be doing more of these in the future anyway, so I think I might see if I can get a donor board. Rather than paying like £4 or £5 for one little component, I might see if I can get a donor board for however much they're going to cost, 20, 30, 40 pounds. And then you see I've got all the components to then fix lots of other things hopefully in the future. But so far I'm actually happy with how that has gone. So when I have a bit more info on what this is, I'll get back to the video. Now this is interesting. I can't find any markings printed on the board here, but I've typed in what I think is the right one. Now this doesn't look perfect, but it looks very, very similar. Like some of the resistors seem to be missing or in slightly different locations. But anyway, the chip that I'm working on, which is blown, is this chip here. Yep, this one here. Now let me zoom right into it. and you can see that we have the different pins. So pin 7 is the pin that I put the copper tape on in the middle, and we know that that goes to here, don't we? And if I click over here on pin 7, then it brings up the areas it goes to. So it goes down to this resistor here, which I haven't actually got on my board, but if you have a look, it goes onto that big inductor here. So it goes onto this side and then through here. But interestingly, look at pins 3, 4 and 5. They are down as ground. So 100% these 3 pins are ground, and yet I have a short between ground and 7. So that shouldn't be shorted, which is what was kind of confusing me earlier, because why would you have an inductor on a ground? It's kind of obvious now, but it sort of confused me earlier. I was thinking maybe, is it some sort of, I don't know, like a buck converter to kind of lose energy by pushing the voltage down to ground or something. But anyway, that shouldn't be ground. So this is actually coming up as this thing here, CPU VCC. I don't know what that means. Obviously I can look into it. I'm not used to looking at schematics or board view or anything, so this is all a bit of a learning curve. But all I know is that that shouldn't be connected to these 3 here. And I'll show you now on the camera that this is a direct short with ground. Okay, so here we are, and if I take a ground from here or any one of these, then these ones here, these 3 at the top, should be ground, but that one shouldn't. So when it's going through here, it shouldn't be ground going onto here, and then after that it goes onto that component. So now I'm not sure yet where they go to. What I'm going to do is put voltage in on here, maybe something like 1 volt or 2 volts, and then I can whack up the amps and then see if anything gets hot. Now just having a quick look here on this side of the board, because the most likely thing would be possibly a capacitor. And if you have a look here, when I go between here and, for example, you see these tantalum ones here. Well, on the tantalum ones, the line is actually the positive. And if you have a look, can you see that on a few of them, they are making a noise on both sides. But yet, when you look at my meter, I'm going to zoom out now, my meter will beep on anything under 50 ohms. So now if you have a look at this one here, can you see that that's 2 ohms, so that could be a candidate. But if you have a look at something like this one here, although it's beeping, it's 32 ohms, so I say that that's probably normal. And these ones over here, 10. So I reckon that is probably okay. But have a look at these ones here. So on this one here, this one's fine actually. But now on this one here, can you see it's like 1 ohm? So whether it's the negative side or the positive side, it's reading the same. So I think that these might be faulty, one of these 2 here, because if you look at this one, it's not doing anything. But these 2 are both reading the same on both sides. So what I'm going to do is pop heat into the board, and what I would love to see is one of these 2 heat up, and then maybe it's one of these that are faulty. Who knows? So I solder 1 wire onto a ground point and another wire onto the big inductor, the coil near the burnt component. That way I can get voltage directly into this board. Now I'm well aware that the CPU is going to be very low voltage on here, so I'm just keeping my meter at 1 volt, but I will keep upping the amps. So I'll start at 1 amp, 1 volt, 1 amp, and it kicks straight into constant current mode. It goes straight to 1 amp and something like 0.4 of a volt, and no heat is generated anywhere. I keep upping the amps, 2 amps, then 3 amps, then 4 amps, in order to try and get heat into the board to find out what the shorted component is. Eventually, I think I'm all the way up to 1 volt at 8 amps, and it's only then when I'm at that level that I'm finally actually getting about 1 volt into the board. I still think it's a little bit under 1 volt. And the only thing that's getting warm is the CPU, unfortunately. So now that obviously worries me. Nothing else is getting warm whatsoever. So I think, well, I have seen that those capacitors do seem to have an abnormal short on them. So I've taken off the 2 capacitors just to see if it's made any difference. But the short still remains on this, and the only heat I can feel is coming from the main chip. So it's not looking good. I don't think there is actually any short on any component unless it's on the main chip, or it could be in the layer, for example, off where the burn was. Maybe something has shorted or fused internally there that I can't see. It might be, you know, a few millimeters past a bit that looks damaged. So let's pick up the video after I've done this voltage injection. Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm losing the will. I got all excited fixing up this thing here, but we've still got we're still going to have a full-on short on this rail here. 0.6, which is the same as if I was to go on the blue wire here. Makes no difference. That's not right, is it? How likely would it be that the main chip has shorted? Well, I'm not going to be taking that off because obviously there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of balls underneath that. I don't know if I can take this any further. But we know that this one goes into here and we've got a short on here. Now I know a lot of people are going to say that these chips are designed to have shorts on. I agree with that, but we're not talking about something which is like 2 ohms. We're talking about something which is the same whether we're on the positive or the negative. So that says to me that that is a short. You see there? So that's the negative there, and this is the positive. It's the same. I'd have to be a little bit unlucky though on my very first time I do a MacBook where the CPU has gone. Because I have watched quite a few of Lewis Rosman's videos, and I don't know if I've seen one where the CPU... I don't think I've ever seen anybody attempt to fix a MacBook where the CPU's gone. So that's what makes me think that it's not going to be that. But when I put voltage into here, it's... the only thing that's getting warm is this. But I don't know how else to fault find this because nothing else is getting warm. And we've got a short going into the chip. Right, leave it with me. I'm going to do some research on Google and see if the CPUs, if it's a common thing where they go faulty. So a few days have gone past now and I bought myself another board from eBay. I got this one for 50 UK pounds. And it said on it that the display would intermittently work and then the display stopped working completely. But the good news is it is the same board. So when I look real closely down here, I found the model number of the board is 8202936, and this is also the same one. This is supposed to be an i7 though, is what the seller said, while this one here is an i5, but maybe they're mounted onto the same board, not too sure. So with this one here, it does seem to have fan spin when I plug in the charger. So if I go into here like so, the light just come on. There we go, and you can see the fans kicked in. Now, interestingly, when I go across these capacitors that are shorted on this one here, I am getting a voltage reading, and it's just supposed to be 1. I think it was 1 volt. You know, on these ones here, there you go, 1 volt there, and 1 volt there. And also, when I gently turn it over, I think I might know why this one's now not working. If I go onto here and also the capacitor here, looks like it's going to overheat. There you go, 12 volts. Now, why would that be ramping up so much? Maybe it needs, does it need to be on, maybe it needs to be on the actual computer itself to drain the heat away. I thought that this heatsink here would just do it all. That seems to have really ramped up. Anyway, look, we've got 12 volts here on this capacitor here. So if we've got 12 volts here, and we're only supposed to have 1 volt, because if you have a look here now, you can see we've only got 1 volt here. That explains why on this one, quite possibly, the CPU is blown, because this is shorted here, isn't it? It was just a charred mess. So if this shorted directly to here, it's pushing 12 volts straight through this circuit here, which is going to blow this, because that one there is the voltage for the CPU, the 1 volt for the CPU. So I'm pretty certain that that has blown. And just out of interest, if you look here, you know on this one here, when we go to resistance, go to ground and go to this side here, you can see that it's a full-on short, 0.5 ohms. Yet if we go onto here, just turn the board round so it doesn't look so confusing. When we go onto here and here, you can see that it's not 0.5, it's 19 ohms. So that says to me there's no point in taking this one any further. I think what's happened is 12 volts has come through, gone straight into the CPU and blown it. Why that component went in the first place, who knows? This has definitely had slight water damage on it. Maybe that was a factor, or maybe this component just blew and it shorted 12 volts into here and gone, and the water damage has nothing to do with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this one as my donor now. I'm going to see if I can get this one working, because if this is an i7 it's going to be a bigger, better one anyway. I always try to like to fix what I can, but if this is faulty here, there's nothing I'm going to do. There's 1043 or 1023 connections underneath this chip here. You would need proper BGA equipment to be able to do that, and even then you might not necessarily be successful. So I'm going to put this into here and see into my into the case along with the battery and everything, and then see if I can get anything working on this one. So when you see this video next, hopefully I might have a bit more info, and maybe we might be able to fault find this one here and get this one displaying and working properly. Okay, so it's back together, but there's no screws in it yet. Let's see what's going to happen. What's going to happen with it. So first of all, let's see if we've got anything in the battery. Oh, we haven't got the battery connected. Hold on. Right, so I've got one little light there. Let's see if that's enough to make it turn on. Right, fans kicked in. And we've got the chime. Excellent. And there is a display. So, I mean, it said intermittent. I can hear it's making a bit of a noise. It said it was intermittent and then fail completely. So I wonder, could that suggest maybe the screen of the last one was faulty, or has it gone back to being intermittent? Let's see what happens when we plug it in, see if it goes to amber. So it's green at the moment. Now it's gone to amber. I've got to be careful, I don't want everything to fall out. Just want to leave it a little bit longer, see if it recognises that the hard drive's in it. So this hard drive might be completely wiped. Actually, the hard drive's going to be different than that. Hard drive's different than the actual board, isn't it? But look, it's doing something. Right, okay, what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to put all the screws in it and then give it all a nice clean up and stuff. And let's see if we can get the software back on here, see if we can get it up and running again. I mean, if we can, it's not a fix, is it? All we've done is replace the board. But I honestly believe that the problem with this one is the main CPU. So I think it's unfixable anyway. Right, let's get back to this later. So here we have it here, and I'm trying to get the operating system back onto it. So in order to get it to recognise anything, I had to plug in an Ethernet cable, and I had to hit this button here, and R together. So I believe that's Option, Command, and R together while turning it on. And then it went into something called the Internet Recovery Mode. And when I tried doing this before, it then came up and it tried to download High Sierra, which I think is an operating system from around about 2017. So hopefully that would be quite good on this. But what's happening is it's coming up with errors on the drive, and the drive to me does sound to be, I think it might be this side, the drive to me does sound to be clicking anyway. So let me just show you that. So if I go to reinstall Mac OS and continue, it's just making that clicking noise. Listen to that. So I think it recognises it here that the drive is it says smart errors, and I think it's spot on. I think I do need to get a new drive for this. So let me just show you it come up. There we go, and it says this disk has smart errors. And what I did is I tried to clear the disk to see if that would make any difference on it, and it didn't. So I think what I'm going to do to this one, my daughter is always on about having a MacBook. I know this is an old one, but if I was to put an SSD in it, and in this laptop here, this is what my wife use this for work, I actually upgraded this one to 16 gigabytes of RAM. But realistically, is 16 gigabytes of RAM needed? So I think I might take 8 gigabytes of that, because from memory that one there is DDR3. And I think I might just put 8 gigabytes of RAM in here with an SSD, and I'm hoping then this would work quite well, because it certainly is a very nice looking product, and although it's not going to be hugely powerful, it feels very nice, and my daughter would love to have this. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So next time you see this, hopefully I'll have an SSD in here. So my SSD has arrived. I've gone for a 1 terabyte one, a SanDisk. It was expensive, it was £80, but I'm hoping if the laptop works then it will be good. If not, I'll just repurpose this and end up using it in something more modern later down the line. I went with the Amazon Now Prime service, you know, where they give you a 2-hour delivery slot. So I ordered this around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it arrived just before 6 o'clock in the same afternoon, so pretty good. So I'm going to get this installed into the Apple, hold down the 3 keys, turn it on, and then let it load up the High Sierra onto that, and I'm hoping then it might work. Then if that works, I'm then going to experiment putting the 1 stick of 8 gigabytes RAM in there, and then we can see what it looks like at the very end. So that's it, in there nice and securely now. There's 4 little screws that go in the side bits, that go in these little bits here, and then it clips into here, and then you only have to undo these things, and these 2 screws clamp this bit back onto here to make it nice and secure. Okay, so what I had to do is I had to actually install the SSD via a little external drive here, plug it in via USB, and then it allowed me to erase it, which I think does some sort of formatting, but it put a new partition in it, and then when I installed it back into here, then it's now recognising it here. So I did have to actually install the old one again until I put the new one on here. So now it looks like when I click this here, hopefully it will allow me to then install it. So here we have it at long last. It is finished and it has come up lovely. This thing is just, it really looks immaculate. What's nice is I didn't realise that logo lights up. So check this out. I'm trying to do it one-handed. Look at that. It lights up there. So that's nice. And I haven't really done much testing on it at all, but it loaded up fine, and just working your way around the computer seems really quick. Gone onto YouTube, watched a video, sound was good, loaded up nice and easy. Screen looks fine. Obviously it's not the best screen in the world as far as the resolution's concerned. I think it's going to be a little bit better than HD ready. It's not full HD. I think it goes up to 800. I think it was. I'll tell you what, we'll be able to see anyway when we go into here. Apple, about this Mac. Displays, here we go. It is a 1280 by 800. Yeah, but let me show you the specs here while I'm here. So if I go to overview, you can see there is a 2011 model, 13-inch, 2.8 gigahertz Intel core, so it is an i7. It'd be interesting now, I want to compare this one to the i5 that was in it originally, just to see is this actually better or not, because it's a little bit older, so maybe although it's an i7, I wonder is it going to be more powerful than what was there originally. You can see the memory I put in there is 8 gigabytes DDR3, and it says it's graphics, Intel HD graphics, 512 megabytes. So that's that. Storage here is 1 terabyte, so plenty of storage to go through there, SSD, and the memory is there. Weirdly, I put the memory card, the slot, the RAM, in the bottom one, but for some reason it's lit up that one there. I don't know why that annoys me. Must be a bit of OCD. I'd prefer that to be over there, but I'm not going to open it up again and put it in the top slot. You would have think the bottom slot would be there, and then the second one would be the top one. But yeah, so there we go. That is it there. Overall, am I happy with the repair? No, because I didn't repair it. I've changed the motherboard, so it's not a repair. But at least I'm reusing the screen, reusing the keyboard, and reusing the battery and case and stuff like that. In my opinion, and I hope to be wrong, I'd love it if people message me and say, no, Vince, it's something else that's gone. I really do believe that that's gone there, because I think what's happened is the chip's blown here, shorted together, it's put 12 volts straight through into the middle rail here, into here. I believe that this is the 1 volt to feed the main chip, because the 1 volt comes onto the capacitor at the back here and goes into the capacitors at the bottom underneath this CPU here. So I think 12 volts has gone straight into here and blown that. But if I'm wrong, I'd love to do a revisit on that one, because for all I know, it could be one of the other chips around the place that are manageable. So it's Vince from the future jumping in on this video. At that part of the video I was convinced the fault was with the CPU, but I'm not so sure now. 100% we definitely got an abnormal short going from the capacitors in to underneath the CPU. But although we've got the same voltages on this rail as the rail here, I don't know if they're actually the same rail or not. So 100% I'm thinking we've got 12 volts that's gone through this chip here, the burnt chip, and gone down the 1 volt rail, so it's fried something. But I'm wondering if it's got more than one fault, because of the water damage here, maybe that's also a contributing factor to something that's gone wrong. Now I was trying to work my way through the power rails. There's quite a few of them that are missing. I can't remember what it is now, PPV5 underscore something or other. And on the schematics you have like the chip, and then you've got the voltage out, and you have the voltage in and chip enable going into it. So you have to have the voltage in and the chip enable in order to have the voltage out. And on one of them, when I was tracing it back and back and back, I wasn't getting the chip enable. Looked like it was coming from the platform controller hub, and I didn't look like I was getting anything from that. So I'm wondering if it could be this that has gone faulty. But when we were putting voltage into it, this was getting warm, and I was under the safe. I was 1 volt. I was under the safe amount, and we have definitely got an abnormal short going from the capacitors under here. So I'm wondering if there's more than one fault on this board. So possibly it could be fixable. It's just I think it's a hard one to start your MacBook fixing career, MacBook fixing videos on. So yeah. I'm going to keep this one obviously for spares, or it would be nice to revisit this further down the line as I get more experience. So although this one hasn't been a fix, I have actually learnt quite a bit. Most of it's been off camera, but I have learnt quite a bit. I still know next to nothing on them, but I know a little bit more than I did originally, which is a good thing. So I've already ordered up my next MacBook. This one, the seller said that it stopped working, and when he took the back off, there's green inside, so obviously water damage again. But maybe this time I might be more lucky, and it might be a chip that's repairable, or there might just be one problem on it, because I think there's more than one problem on this board here. So that is it for this video. If you've got any information about it, please pop it down in the comments. Maybe it's quite a common thing that this burns and then puts 12 volts through and fries something. If that's the case, just pop it down in the comments, because it will help me, and also it will be of interest to other people watching this video as well. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, everyone.